What does it take to kill a man? What does it take to kill a man? What does it take to kill a son? To kill a father of 6 children? To kill a brother? To kill a friend? To kill a homegrown hero? High school basketball star, turned college All-American, turned NBA player, and no matter where he went to play, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Cleveland, he always came back here. Every off season, every chance he got. What does it take to kill a father, a son, a man at Memphis running through his veins? What does it take to kill Lorenzen Wright? Before we answer that, let's hear what it sounds like to kill a man. Let's hear what it sounds like to kill Lorenzen Wright. July 18th, turning into July 19th. It's just after midnight. It's actually 12 a.m. 12 minutes after midnight. The call is to Germantown 911. You'll hear 2 male voices. The first male voice is the caller, Lorenzen Wright. The second male voice is the killer. And then you'll hear gunshot after gunshot after gunshot.
Germantown 911, where's your emergency? Hello? Hello? I have nothing but gunshots.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like to kill a man. That's what it sounds like to kill Lorenzen Wright. In a field, separated by a barbed wire fence, not too high, off a little cut-through road near Hacks Cross, Callus cut off. There's trees, 2010, no street lights, a little road that nobody uses, next to a field separated by a little barbed wire fence. That's what it sounded like to kill him there in the middle of the night. But what did it take? But what did it take to kill him? I'll tell you what it didn't take first. It didn't take courage. It didn't take strength. It didn't take bravery. It didn't take anything good. Instead, it took 2 things. The first was a plan. The first thing it took was a plan. First, Lorenzen had to be lured to Memphis. He was living in Atlanta. And then he had to be lured in the middle of the night to a little road where we had no business being, next to the field, where this could happen with no witnesses, and the hope that the people that did it could get away. That's the first thing it took. A plan to get him there, to get him alone, to get him vulnerable, and to do this without witnesses and with the hope to get away. But the second thing it took was evil. Evil in the heart. It took an evil heart to do this. And I'm not talking about Billy Turner's heart. I'm not talking about him. It took a particularly evil heart. One that was filled with jealousy, with desperation, with hurt, with greed, and literally 2 million reasons to want him dead. I'm talking about Sheriff Wright, Lorenzen's ex-wife. An evil heart, greed. But like yesterday, when we planned our bank robbery, Sheriff Wright's not a professional killer. This is not something she does. She doesn't have a phone directory of hitmen. No. She had to reach out to people that she trusted or that were indebted to her, or that, what did we talk about yesterday? Sketchy uncle, maybe with some criminal past. She had to reach out to people like that to get this thing planned, done, and covered up. 2 people in particular. And the first, who I am talking about now, is Billy Turner. Billy Turner was Sheriff Wright's friend. Billy Turner was Sheriff Wright's yard man. Billy Turner was Sheriff Wright's romantic, secret interest. Billy Turner was somebody that Sheriff Wright could trust, manipulate, and use. Evil heart. There's another person there too. Jimmy Martin, also known as J. Martin. Sheriff's cousin. I want to call him the sketchy cousin. We can call him the sketchy cousin. J. Martin, who, after he got out of the Navy, went back to live in Batesville. Batesville's an hour or so from here, and got in trouble. At the time, accused and indicted for a domestic murder, for killing his girlfriend. Sketchy criminal past. Check that box. But more sketchy criminal past, who's indebted to Sheriff because Sheriff made his bond. Sheriff was paying for his attorney, for Jimmy Martin's attorney, while he went through the court case about killing his girlfriend. That's who Sheriff Wright reached out to. That's who she manipulated, and that's who she used. That was her we had a team of bank robbers. That was her team of co-conspirators and killers. Wasn't a great team. Wasn't a great team, but it was her team. Billy Martin, Billy Turner, Jimmy Martin, and Sharon Wright. So, back to what we heard. 12:12 a.m., July 18th, turning into July 19th. 911 call. 2 male voices. Gunshot after gunshot to the Germantown 911 center. Okay. So what does Germantown do? What could Germantown have done? Research the information, get whatever phone stuff they had to get, and figure out where that call was coming from, right? Isn't that what happens when you call 911? Something like that happens. Gunshots, end of phone call. Let's find out where this phone call was coming from. And if they had, they would have been on that little road, Callus Cutoff, within hours. They would have been there within hours of that shooting. And what they would have found, before they found Lorenzen's body in the field, what they would have found was a barbed wire fence that had blood on it from one of the killers trying to hop through it when they chased Lorenzen. They would have found that, and they could have done DNA. What they would have found is another gun. Not even a murder weapon, but another gun that had been fired on that little street during this murder. They would have found it tossed into some bushes down the street. When Shara Wright got excited and scared and tossed it, they would have found that too. When they went over the fence, they would have found Lorenzen Wright dead, because he was shots to the head. They would have found casings, and they would have found bullets. They would have found him freshly dead. They would have been at Shara's house soon after that, because the last place Lorenzen Wright was before he went to Callus Cutoff was Shara Wright's house with her. The police would have been at Shara Wright's house within hours of this 911 call. And they would have found her scrambling right after having done this thing. They would have seen the person that she texted right before they did this, Bill Turner. They would have found him that night, that morning too. They would have found the murder weapon, a 9mm that was responsible for putting the bullets in Lorenzen after he ran into the field. They would have found all those things within hours of this crime. It wouldn't have taken much work after that to find Jimmy Martin, the third person who was part of this conspiracy. He wasn't there when the murder was done. He was supposed to be, but he wasn't. But they would have found him too. They would have found all three. Shara, Billy, Jimmy, murder weapon, phones, evidence, and the case would be over. You want me to tell you what Germantown did with that 911 call? Do you want me to tell you what they did with it? With what you heard? Nothing. Nothing. They didn't even look to see who it was from. They didn't even look to see where it was from. They didn't even tell other jurisdictions, hey, gunshots, end of call. This sounded really bad. They did nothing. Nothing. And so Lorenzen Wright's body sat in the field next to Callus Cutoff for days. One day became 2 days. 2 days became 3 days. His mother, after 3 days, had to come and report him missing. Not Sheriff Wright, not the last person he was with, but his mother had to come forward and report him missing. 3 days became 4, became 5, became 6, became 7, became 8 days. What did we say about the first 48? That's an important time period. We're 8 days past. 8 days past when the Collierville Police Department, not Germantown, when the Collierville Police Department gets phone records and realizes the last number, the last person that Lorenzen Wright ever spoke to was at 12:12 on July 19th, and it was Germantown 911. Oh my goodness. In those 9 days, 9 days, because they did their homework after that. Once they found out that was the number, that he had called 911, you figure out where the phone was. You triangulate the location. You go out there, and what do you know? You find him. And we'll talk about that. But in those 9 days before they found him, that was 9 days for these conspirators, Shara, Billy, and Jimmy, to cover up. And you'll be read the law at the end. A cover-up is part of a conspiracy. A cover-up is a part of a conspiracy. 9 days to cover up this murder. To tell stories, to get stories straight, to go to Callus Cutoff and find the gun that you threw in the bushes, to go to Callus Cutoff and cut down the barbed wire fence that has your blood on it, to take the murder weapon away from Memphis, off the side of a highway, 30 miles from Memphis, down a little turnoff that leads to a landfill, and has a little lake to the right, and put the murder weapon at the bottom of a lake where nobody in this world would ever find it. They had 9 days to do all those things. And that's how the murder of a Memphis hero, the father of a son, brother, becomes Memphis's most publicized mystery cold case. If only Germantown had done what they should have done, this would have been over by July 25th, 2010. Jimmy, Billy, and Shara would have been charged then. But instead, this became one of the longest and most publicized cold cases in Memphis history. Years. 1 year became 2, became 3, became 6. Now, during those years, the truth, bits of the truth, actually peek out. You can hide stuff, but it's hard to hide stuff completely. A conspiracy Hard to hide a conspiracy and a murder like this completely. So through those 6 years, 2010 to 2016, bits of the truth do come popping out. Investigators do get phone records from Shara, from Billy, and from Jimmy. They see suspicious texts, suspicious conversations, things that don't make sense. They talk to witnesses. We've talked to Sharon. Things that don't make sense. And then, a few years into the 6 years, they talk to Jim. What did we say yesterday? If you're picking a co-conspirator, you better hope that co-conspirator doesn't tell it. Well, in 2012, during the 6 years, 2012, Jimmy told it. Jimmy, who is in jail then, having been convicted for the murder that we were talking about of the girlfriend, where Shara had hired his attorney and bonded him out. Jimmy had been convicted, and afterwards he told it that this was a conspiracy to kill Lorenzen, that it was me, that it was Billy, that it was Shara. He gave him details on how it happened. While he wasn't there, he helped the planning beforehand, and he helped to cover up afterwards. He even told him where something was. In 2012, he even told him where something was. What'd they do with that information in 2012? Better than Germantown, at least they did something. They got a few volunteer divers together. They went to a little lake. It's a turn off the highway, about 30 miles from here on the way to a town. Right after it had rained and the visibility of the water was almost zero, a couple volunteer divers didn't find it. And that's how 2012 turns into 2016. 2016, a new group of investigators with a focus. Reinvestigate Memphis's most publicized cold case. Something that's gone unsolved for 6 years. Reinvestigate it. And this time, not with volunteer divers, not after a rainy day, but with the FBI dive team. Professionals who do this for a living. Let's go out to the same lake, next to the same landfill off that highway, and let's search it for real. Let's see if Jimmy's telling the truth, finally, or not. Let's decide it. One day to set up the grid pattern they're going to use to search, scout the lake. Second day, the FBI divers go into the lake. You'll see pictures of it. There's even a video of it. Within minutes, where Jimmy had said it was, where he had estimated it was, this thing was never supposed to be found. This is the gun that killed Lorenzen Wright. Right where Jimmy said it was in 2012. At first, when you preserve it, you find something that's been in water, you put it in a bucket with the same water that it's in. And that's what the FBI and the investigators did. Then you drive it ASAP to the crime lab, and you compare it to the casings and to the bullets that they found in Lorenzen Wright. You'll hear from the TBI. This is the murder weapon that killed Lorenzen Wright. It was thrown at the bottom of a lake, and nobody in this world was ever supposed to see this again. But Jimmy led him straight to it. That's step one of the investigation. Truth test for Jimmy. Right where he said it was. The one gun in this world. Pick a co-conspirator, you better hope the co-conspirator doesn't just tell him. Other witnesses. They find other witnesses. They find a nanny, Claudia. It's a nanny for Lorenzen and for Sharon, who was present. Jimmy had told them in 2012 there was a woman there at least one of the times that we were planning this murder that I didn't know. We were in Sheriff's house. There was a woman there I didn't know who heard what we were saying, and she was there. She was younger. She was pregnant. He told him that in 2012. He told him that in 2012. Well, in 2016, they found out who that person was. Claudia Robbins, a nanny to the kids. They found Claudia. What does Claudia say? Yeah.
You're not going to miss a moment of the state's open in the case of Tennessee versus Billy Ray Turner, a deacon with a criminal past now on trial for murdering an NBA star. Will the jury find? We're going to be following this trial gavel to gavel for you here on Court TV Live. We're hitting pause. We'll be right back after this.
Healthcare.
Thank you for staying with us here on Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We want to go back into the courtroom exactly where we left off. We're watching the opening statements from the state of Tennessee. The prosecutor saying that this crime required two big things, planning and evil. Let's watch.
Part of it, but I was there. When Sharon Wright said she wanted Lorenzen Wright dead, and she told Jimmy and Billy, the yard man, to do it. Literally, they were all in the kitchen together. They find other witnesses too. They'll find Billy's car that Jimmy talked about in 2012. They'll find other incriminating evidence. You'll see it during the trial. But they also hatched a little plan. They did an investigation after they found this gun, but they kept it secret. They didn't tell anybody they found this gun yet. They wanted to keep it secret for a while because they had a plan. When we released it to the media, we want to have Shara and we want to have Billy under surveillance. We want to have them under surveillance because we want to see what happens. We want to see what happens. They would have put Jimmy under surveillance too, but Jimmy was in prison. Still in prison for the murder of his girlfriend. When we release this to the media, we want to put Billy and we want to put Shara under surveillance. Released to the media. What do we expect? Say you don't know about this whole conspiracy to commit murder. Say you don't know about any of it. What do you expect from Shara? grieving widow of Lorenzen, mother of his children, what would you expect? For 6 years, the mysterious death of your husband is now close to being solved because we found the murder weapon. Wouldn't you expect? Thank you so much. This is great. This is great because there's somebody out there that killed my husband and we're getting closer to catching him. That's what you'd expect. That's what you'd expect. But instead, under surveillance, she is distraught, despondent, suicidal, and at the time living in California, needs to come back to Memphis ASAP. The first plane I can get, telling hardly anybody, unplanned, nearly suicidal. She needs to get back to Memphis ASAP. ASAP. And so she does. And when she gets here, she needs to make contact with somebody. But not on her own phone. Years ago, she'd been wiretapped. Police listening to your phone. Not on her own phone. I need to use somebody else's phone to get in contact with the person I need to talk to. And I don't need to talk to this person on the phone. I need to see this person in person. And I not only need to see this person in person, I need to have a conversation away from anybody else. Walking up and down the street, looking, trying to make sure nobody's watching. I need to do this ASAP. And guess who that person is? Bill's home. And guess where the police were? In a van on the street, watching it happen. As the two of them, once the gun is found, have to meet, have to talk, immediately. She probably didn't talk to Jim too, but he's still in jail, in prison. You'll also hear when Billy's arrested. Sometime, somebody was talking about it yesterday, talking about their kids or something and confronting them and credibility. Sometimes the lies can tell you more than the truth. You'll hear the things that Billy lied about when the police talked to him. You'll hear the things that he had absolutely no answer for. And at the end of this, took a plan, took a conspiracy, took an evil heart to start it and to see it through. But you'll see the sheriff, that Jimmy, and that Billy are responsible for the conspiracy to kill Lorenzen Wright and for the first-degree murder of Lorenzen Wright.
Ms. Hager, Ms. Perry, and